This is a training session regarding printing payroll checks. In order to print payroll checks, we must first post a batch of timesheets into the system. For information on entering and processing timesheet batches, refer to the training session on entering and processing timesheets. To print paychecks, we select Print Paychecks from the Payroll menu. The system now displays this Paycheck printing control screen. At the top of the window, we can select the posting date and the fiscal period in which these payroll checks will be printed. These will automatically default to today's date and the current fiscal period, or we can change the values here. The system now asks for the last day of the pay period. This will also default to today's date, but should be changed to the date of the last day of the pay period. We can now select a checking account from which the funds will be drawn to pay these checks. This will default to the payroll checking account that was specified in the payroll setup options. If money to pay for direct deposits is to be drawn from a different cash account, we can specify that account here. The window will show the current balance of both accounts. The check date will default to today's date, but we can change that if we choose. The system remembers the number of the last payroll check and last direct deposit voucher that were printed and defaults to the next available numbers. You should confirm the next check number by looking at the number of the first check in the printer. If checks are missing, it would be a good idea to account for their whereabouts. If the selected check printing format is a laser printer format, you can specify here whether the system will nudge the printing up or down on the printed page. The system will save this setting for future check printing. At the bottom of the screen, the system displays the number of blank checks you will need in the printer to process this paycheck run. As a second control, it will also display the highest check number needed, based on the number of the first check displayed above. The screen lists all unpaid employees, those with posted timesheets ready to be paid. We simply click on the Print Checks button, and checks will be printed for all employees in the list. We can print only for selected employees if we choose. For example, we may need to quickly print a paycheck for a particular employee and then print the rest of the checks at a later time. To do this, we click on the Print for Selected Employees box. Then we highlight the employee we want to print a check for and click on the right arrow to move them into the Paychecks to Print box. At this point, we can click on the Print Checks button and start our check run. The system will remind us that in order to print our checks, we must first put our payroll check stock into the printer. We also have the option to switch to a different printer by clicking on the Print Setup button and selecting a new printer. We then click on the Continue button, and the system will print all of the paychecks. If some of the employees in the list have been set up for direct deposit, the system will print direct deposit vouchers instead of actual paychecks for these employees. It will pause and ask whether these vouchers should be printed on your pre-printed check stock or on blank paper. Make your choice and click Continue. The vouchers will then be printed. After the paychecks and vouchers have been sent to the printer, the system will ask, "Did all checks print properly?" If they did print properly, click on the Yes button and the posting will continue. However, if we had a paper jam or some other minor calamity, then we can click on the No button, and the system will show us a list of the checks that were sent to the printer. We can reprint checks by selecting a range of check numbers, or by selecting to reprint individual checks that have been damaged or were misaligned in the printer. After we enter the number of the next available blank check in the printer, we can click on the Reprint Now button to reprint the selected checks. The system will then print those checks again with the new starting check number and will ask, did all checks print properly? This cycle will continue until we press the Yes button that all checks did print properly. The system then reminds us to take the check stock out of the printer and put plain paper in, or to select another printer. After we do so, we press the Continue button, and the system will print our check printing posting reports. These include the payroll check register and a general ledger transaction summary of the check posting. At this point, we have one last chance to either finish or undo our posting. If we click the Finish button, then the posting is made permanent. So we need to inspect our posting reports and payroll checks to make sure they are all in proper order. If they are, then we can click the Finish button. If not, we can click the Undo button, and the data will return to the state that it was in before the checks were printed. If we did click Finish, the system creates a text file for our direct deposit payments in the ACH format. This text file can be uploaded to your bank so that they can transfer the money to the employees. After the check run, the system can also send an email to each direct deposit employee with their direct deposit voucher attached. This window comes into view. The list box includes all the direct deposit employees and shows whether there is a valid email address in their employee file. We can highlight any employee and click the View PDF button to see the voucher that will be emailed. Place a check mark in this column for each employee you want to send an email to. In this column is an icon representing the fact that the PDF containing the voucher is password protected. You can set up a voucher password for the employee when editing their employee record in the Direct Deposit Setup section. In the From field, there must be a valid email address. If your user ID doesn't have an attached email address, you can enter one here. Send the emails by clicking this button. Now here's one last thought on sending these emails. We mentioned before that the system creates the ACH text file to send to the bank to transfer the money. When this window pops up immediately after the check run, you probably haven't yet sent the file to the bank. So sending these emails right now might be premature, since the money has not yet been transferred to the employees' bank accounts. You may want to take care of that process first and email the vouchers later. So let's close this window. Now, after you have finished the process of transferring the money, you can select Email Direct Deposit Vouchers from the Payroll Payments menu. Pick our most recent check run and click Proceed. Now we have the email window back again for sending vouchers to our direct deposit employees. This concludes this training session on printing payroll checks.